Happy Monday, everyone. I hope you've had a pleasant weekend. Nice to see you again. I had a really nice summer weekend. Actually, feels like summer for sure. I hope you've all had a nice weekend as well. As I was sitting down, I was thinking about all those things that when you have summer vacation, since we speak about feeling good and enjoying being here, there's something about being in sunlight, being in a real summer day when there's sunshine on you and it's warm. And we were at the beach this weekend with the kids, and just that smell of, there's a special smell, like in Sweden, if you go to the beach, there's a smell of seaweed, and it smells like rotten egg. Some people think it smells disgusting. For me, it smells like childhood and summer. So I feel really like, oh, that's a nice smell. I mean, it just, yeah, it makes me think of summer. And just being on the beach and feeling the smell of the seaweed that's composing, and feeling the smell of, there's a smell of, I don't know if it's ozone or what it is, but maybe not ozone. There's something that's created, like when you're in the sun, the skin smells different. And smells have this tendency to just put us in different states of mind, to make us feel different things. And for me, sunshine and the smell of old seaweed really does help make me feel that way that I felt when I was a child. And you just wake up in the morning and you'd feel, oh, today is a wonderful day. I wonder what we're going to do. And we'd run down to the beach, and it would be sunlight, and we would have the whole day to play on the beach. And just that feeling of possibilities and fun, and just like, who's going to come to the beach, who am I going to play with? And then you would run around, and we'd go bathing and build sandcastles, and just do whatever. We'd be down there. And having that feeling connected to the smell of, like I said, the seaweed, and the way the skin smells when it gets warm, and you start to, I think you start to sweat. I'm not sure what it is really that smells. That just triggers that feeling for me. So it was a very nice weekend to be out there and to really feel as if though it's summer. And I felt that really raised the kind of enjoyment for the rest of the weekend. So it was just easier to enjoy. And then the good thing about enjoying, if you don't make it dependent on something outside, you don't need to stop it. I mean, there is no absolute correlation between what happens on the outside or inside and with what you feel, but it does help. So like I said, smells and things like that, they can kind of move us in that direction, and then you just kind of keep that going, and then you lean towards feeling good. And when you start feeling bad, you're like, why am I feeling bad? Does this make sense to do this? And then there are the ways that we worked with how to use your awareness to lean into and actually feel the uncomfortable feeling, and seeing that there's absolutely nothing there. And then ultimately that disappears. So that's a really good way of kind of spiraling upwards. We talk a lot about spiraling downwards. I think it's because we see it as, is it even possible to spiral upwards? Like, no, because that would mean that the whole world would have to align with what we want, because we base our happiness on what happens outside. But spiraling downwards, that we can kind of believe, yes, everything can go to, the wrong direction. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse, and you start making worse and worse decisions. But it can actually spiral upwards also. You just start feeling better and better and better. And then when you've chosen to feel better, then it's kind of, it doesn't really make sense to start feeling bad again. Like, there's this feeling like, why would I do that now? Because I feel good. There is no reason for me to start feeling bad. So then you start spiraling upwards instead. And it's a much more pleasant way of living life. And it's most definitely more pleasant to use that as your standard mode of operating, rather than everything that happens, oh, it's so bad, it's so terrible, what am I going to do? Oh, I can't believe this happened to me. And instead of saying like, okay, well, this sucks, so what do I do now? And seeing that this feeling that we have inside that is so debilitating, that is really controlling us. Hey, One Eye. Particularly 20 minutes. Oh, thank you. I'm happy you liked it. It was interesting to do that forward. Hey, Christian. I had a great weekend, yeah. I recorded that when I was going with my family to a zoo. And I just thought, oh, I haven't spoken about that. And someone mentioned Kundalini. I can't remember who it was that talked about it, that they had a Kundalini awakening, and people make it into this big thing. And like I said, I've lived with that for such a long time that for me, I just see it really, really differently than most people. And I've seen how it can help, but it can also create a lot of bad things. So I'm happy you like the longer format. I might make more videos like that. I enjoy having longer discussions, but it is the problem with YouTube that people don't really have time. I think that a lot of people who want to know more would come here to these evenings, or they would join us on the Discord channel and we have the group coaching or something else. But actually I was surprised to see that when I look at the statistics for the video, there's a lot of people who actually watch the whole 22 minutes, which was interesting. I'm happy to hear that. I'll definitely make more videos like that. And Lorenzo, if you have any suggestions for topics that like, okay, I'd like to hear more about that, I'd be really happy to hear. I can take most of my ideas from people here in the chat or the coaching calls that I have. When people bring something up, like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Or I just look at a random video and I think, oh, okay, that's a completely different perspective than I have. And then I share how I see it. You see, Lorenzo is asking, I've got a question. Like always, I love the questions. You spoke about Sotapanna and progress of insight in Mahasi method, clearly explained in their tradition. Can you expand? Okay, so for those of you who are not too familiar with Buddhism, there's 4 stages of insight in Theravadan tradition, and there's Sotapanna, Sakaragami, Anagami, and Arahant. There's like the 4 levels of insight. And basically it means that the first one, you've entered the stream of enlightenment. And then I think there's like a maximum amount of rebirths you can have. And then you're Sakaragami, that means you've entered the stream for the second time. And then, I honestly don't remember. Then you have 3 times you can be reborn. Anagami means you have maximum 1 time to be reborn. And then Arahant is when you're fully reborn. So that's the definition in the old Buddhist text, kind of, which has nothing to do with what I'm going to talk about here. That's like the beliefs of what would happen to you. And then there's all these beliefs of what happens and what changes when you create here. But in the Mahasi tradition, these are really... The problem when we spoke about enlightenment is that there's 50 different definitions of what it means. Do you get superpowers? Do you sense other people's feelings? Do you just become really sharp? Are you kind of not experiencing this world? You can't experience suffering? Like, what is it? There's so many different ways of explaining enlightenment. But in the Mahasi method, which is a Theravadan tradition, they have very clear things. So they have a jnanas, they call knowledge of. And this is really interesting. I've talked to hundreds of people who have gone through like the same stages of how you start out and how that kind of progresses, and very short. Like when you start meditating, you sit down and okay, what's happening? Like nothing's really working, and then you kind of progress, and then all of a sudden you have like the 3rd stage. There can be this, like you twist and like certain things happen. You can have a lot of cause and effect. You think, okay, I did this happened. The mind kind of works in a specific way, and then you get, I think, stage 4 or 5, arising and passing away, and you go, your focus just goes through the roof, and you're sitting there, and there's like thoughts coming. You're just so aware, and people, this is called false enlightenment. There's actually a text about it, how to not confuse this, because it feels like, wow, I made it. I am so up-leveled now from how I was before, and people think they got it. It's just that a day after, or 2, or hours, it kind of starts going down again. You're like, hey, what's happening? And it's like, oh, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then you get into the dukkha jnanas, which is the knowledge of suffering, or the dark night of the soul. And all of a sudden, it's like someone kicks the feet off of under your ground, and you just fall off, and you have no self-confidence, no belief in yourself, and you're just sitting like, I should just go home. I'm not even worthy of living. Like, I shouldn't take up the air of the planet. That's how bad I am. And so that's a really, you have to be able to observe that without having distortions towards it. If you go through that, then you get to equanimity, which is when you just walk around like, oh, there's nothing to be done. Everything is okay. The world is as it is, and it is just fine. And that can be a difficult thing to go through because you stop observing, you stop being aware because there's no problem anymore. But if you go through that, then you have nirodha, which is the end. It's a cessation. It's like basically nirvana experience. You stop experiencing reality. It's like you're here, and then all of a sudden you're gone, and you come back here. And there's like no, it's not like, oh, I'm drowsy. Like, no, you just don't experience life, and then you come back. That would be the first, drop. That's basically when I explain how I went like, and I started fluttering. That's what happened there, which is not how it usually is. Usually it's a quite undramatic thing, but for me it was a bit different. And then you start the cycle over again, and now you've entered the stream, so now they start coming by themselves. And this is if you say this to a Buddhist, they're like, oh my goodness, it's Sotapanna, oh hallelujah, kind of. They wouldn't say hallelujah, but if you're in the more intensive practice centers, this is not like something extreme. We're talking about a few months of meditation. Some people might even have it within the first few weeks if they have like gotten to that point before. So it's not something that's extraordinary, kind of, even though it feels like that to a lot of people, and it does change your perspective. And then the second time can come after a few months or years or whatever, and then so you start progressing through these, and they're very clearly defined by when you complete a cycle. Sotapanna, second cycle Sakaragami, third cycle Anagami, but then it's a bit more diffuse of when you would be called a Arahant, which is a fully enlightened person. And I don't give any value to that at all. It's just, yes, you can clearly see them happen, and yes, something changes, but it's not at all like, oh, I don't feel any suffering. It's just that you change your perspective, and there's a meditative process, which is one of the reasons why this, it never seemed important to me, because I was really, if I would have been really Buddhist, I would have been like, oh my goodness, I just did what everyone talks about. And I felt a little bit like that at first. But then, well, I'm still suffering. I'm still feeling this distortion. I didn't call it distortion then. I'm still feeling bad when this happened. So whatever it was, it didn't change what I wanted it to change. So therefore, that's not what I was looking for. And then I just kept on looking, which is why I got to the practice method that I have, because that actually did change that permanently. The only thing that matters is the end of dukkha. Exactly. And I think that we confuse the term dukkha because dukkha is translated into suffering, right? So if you listen to like the Dalai Lama or the Mahayana Buddhists, they're beautiful and they do beautiful things, but they basically say, okay, we should end suffering for all living beings. And they see that as something that you end as in making everyone happy, kind of, which is not suffering. Happy as in like everyone, there should be no wars, there should be no this, and there should be no famine. And all those things are good, trust me, I'm not against that at all. I'm just saying that is not the end of suffering. Dukkha, that's not dukkha. Dukkha is completely unrelated to the world outside. It's independent, because otherwise we wouldn't be talking about liberation. We'd be talking about changing the world into what we need it to be. It's a liberation independent of your outer circumstances. It isn't liberation when everyone does what I want them to do. I'm liberated when the world follows what I say they should, or what my teacher says. That's not liberation, that's something else. And unfortunately, that's what Buddhism has become a lot, because it sounds very beautiful. It gives the ego or the self something like, oh, I used to be the selfish person, but now I'm this big person who helps the world. And again, I'm not against this. This is amazing, and I highly recommend you follow that and do that. But that is not working with ending your dukkha. It can help partly by, if you're really attached to everything you have and you start giving, then yes, there would be a certain amount of freedom in that, but that's just like a tiny bit. But in theory, you should diminish dukkha. Absolutely, that's my point. Like, that's my only practice. When dukkha for me is distortion. Otherwise, Sotapanna and the other stages have no meaning. And yes, I agree. The stages have very little meaning. Again, this is the stages as they're explained in the Mahasi method, in the Burmese school. That's how they say. There are a lot of people who would absolutely not call that liberation. I didn't even the monks that I met in Sri Lanka who were not really into meditation. I never mentioned this to them. I would never dream of saying, oh, you know what, I meditated and I I became a Sotapanna. Actually, according to that, I would probably be in the stage what they call Arahant, because all that process has stopped. I barely feel the cycles. And I could never say that because that's not something you can say in those circles. And again, like you say, because the stages have no meaning as they are described in the Mahasi method. And they have meaning, but they're not like the end of dukkha. Absolutely not. They're just something that happens with the mind when you do these meditative practices that helps you progress, and it makes it easier to be aware of whatever is going on inside of you. So for sure, like my ability to stay aware and to observe what was going on inside of me was definitely upgraded by that process, but it didn't end the dukkha, which was the only thing I was after. I mean, I could be if I could choose, I would be the absolutely crappiest meditator in the world if I could end dukkha and trade that. There's like the ending of the dukkha is the whole point, kind of. It's not to be, your goal is not to become a good meditator. Your goal is not to become a good person. Your goal is to end dukkha. And then whatever you choose to do after that, that's up to you. It's not that you need to become someone else than you are, or that you need the world outside of it to behave according to your wishes, because that's not liberation. That's kind of what powerful people try to do when they want everyone to worship them and follow what they think you should do. We're basically trying to deprogram that so that you're not dependent on what you've been conditioned to do to feel good. Because if you think about it, it's our parents, it's our society, teachers, friends. They're the ones who have kind of helped shape you into the distortion bundle that you have. So when someone tells you, hey, you're an idiot, one person will go, oh my God, I'm an idiot. Oh, I feel so bad. I wish I would have known. And someone else goes like, oh yeah, you're like, what kind of idiot are you? Like, go and they get angry. Someone else goes like, well, okay, I don't know, just don't care. In other words, there's no absolute relationship between outer stimuli and how you feel about it. That just doesn't exist. But all that meditation and the shift in the supermundane level should have helped you find joy now. No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it did. I mean, it helped me. I needed to figure out what to actually do, because, as I said, again, the problem with spiritual practice, especially if you go to like law of attraction, they all, and like most of the spiritual stuff you find on YouTube, it's about creating your dream life. Manifest your dream life, find your life purpose, create this world around you that is like your dream come true, and your soulmate, your twin flame. It's all about creating this thing or making things go in a way so that you can say, okay, now it's good, now I allow myself to feel bad. I'm basically saying skip all of that. That hasn't, I mean, do that, but see that that's separate from what we're doing here. That's personal development. It's really good stuff. Like, by all means, do that. But I'm talking about ending all suffering, like all dukkha. And to do that, you need to disconnect from the idea that how you feel and your ability to enjoy being here is somehow dependent on what happens outside. The meditation just helps us be able to, it just makes it easier to throughout the day be aware of what's going on. That's all it's supposed to do. So the idea that you should meditate every single waking hour and do dream yoga and not miss anything because it's so valuable time, that's kind of like that, just creating tension. Then you're trying too hard. It's not going to help. So yes, meditation does help, and it does shift, but I don't know how, I mean, it's not necessary. It absolutely helps. And I think everyone should have a meditation practice, because it does help with making all of this just so much easier. But again, you don't really need it. It just helps. It's the axe metaphor is so worn, but it's basically like sharpening your axe. It's much easier to cut down the tree if you have a sharp axe. But if you have a sharp axe and you start just banging on the tree like everywhere like this, you're not going to cut down the tree, because you're just like chopping at it. Eventually the tree will probably fall down because you just chop everywhere, like up and down, down and up and down in the ground, and all of a sudden you chop your own leg off. You're like, oh, that hurt, kind of, and then you just have no idea what you're doing. So just getting a sharp axe isn't really enough. You need to understand what the problem is, and the problem is the dukkha, the distortion, this idea that your joy is somehow dependent on something happening. That's why we focus on actually enjoying your life experience. That's why I talk about don't enjoy your life story, but enjoy your life experience and learn to be okay with what it is. It is much easier to feel good and enjoy being here when you're out in nature and camping and smelling the air, and it's really good to get to do that, to really get grounded and feel that. But then you need to see, why can't you do that when you go back to society? Because there's no reason why you shouldn't. There really is nothing that says you shouldn't be able to feel the same way you do out in nature in a city. That's not something that's necessary. It's just that it's much easier to do it in nature. So you practice meditation and you practice being nature so that you then can go into town and feel like that in town. That's basically the reason why I stopped. I mean, one of the main reasons why I stopped being a Buddhist monk was that I just saw that, okay, I'm able to do this here now. I was just feeling good most of the time. But to actually overcome this, I need to go back into daily life and be able to do this while I'm living as a lay person. If that makes sense. Did that answer your question? I'm not even sure if that was a question. Oh yeah, it was a question. The stages. It's a little bit taboo to talk about it, because someone who's liberated shouldn't talk about it, and I've been told off by meditation teachers when I spoke too openly about it, because it could create ego. It could create ego if you talk about jhanas, but then it creates a lot more sense of self for that monk or those monks who would tell me, don't talk about it, don't do that, because they felt they were righteous and I was wrong. And again, I'm not saying what's right and wrong here. I'm just saying they had more feeling on, oh, you shouldn't do this. This is wrong. We're not allowed to do that. Because then you're not experiencing. Someone who have experienced that would never talk about it. That's distortion. If I can just say, this is what happens. If you listen to me when I talked about this, I'm not saying like, oh, you guys, you don't understand. I am so much better than you. I've achieved this grand thing and I'm actually a liberated being. You should worship me like that. Then I would be doing it for needing to validate me. But I just share it as it's just facts. This is what happened, kind of. And you can take that however you want. But I think it's useful to know, because when you understand that these states and stages aren't really the be-all, do-all that we believe they are, they do help. But ultimately, you need to learn to feel good when things are bad. That's what it boils down to. We want it to be, oh, I do this really difficult practice or find this secret method, and then when I found this secret method, then somehow I'm just going to feel good because I figured it out, or I'm going to understand something and now I feel good because I figured it out. Whereas in fact, it's much simpler, but also more painful in a way, because you have to allow yourself and face the self going, who would I be if I didn't feel bad when that person did this to me? You have to give up your sense of self and allow the world to be the way it is. In other words, don't change the world for your happiness. Don't change the world for your enjoyment. Let the world be what it is and learn how to enjoy being here. And then when you're able to feel good and enjoy being here, I can promise you that whatever decisions you make are going to be so much better than whatever you did before. But you can't do that to make good decisions. Then it's kind of missing the point. You were saying that after Sotapanna and maybe more in Mahasi method, that is doable after months of intensive practice, is not the end of dukkha. It's new for me. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I mean, for me, I can barely remember this, but it was less than a year after I was ordained that I think I was, I don't remember, but actually like practicing intensely, there was not that, just like maybe a few months. And then after I had the Sotapanna, another cycle was completed. I think that was just like 60 days or 30 days or something. That was very quick. But then I was meditating. Then I had gotten into my routine of meditation, which was anywhere from 8 to 15 hours per day. So I was meditating quite intensely. And then the second one came very quickly. The third one came very quickly. And then, again, it doesn't really change that much, like 1, 2, 3. But that's the definition of it. But when it would really be like the arahant, it's difficult to explain. These things can happen quickly. Like I've heard of people just kind of going to the centers, and then after a few days they become a sotapanna, because it just they were probably primed and ready to go there. They just needed that intensive practice to do the last step. So it's not that important. And again, if you would be a really Buddhist person and you listen to it, you'd be like, oh my goodness, this person's either completely full of or he's the most enlightened being I've ever talked to. That's the problem. Like they believe that this is something special. And I'm saying very clearly, like, after you achieve this, very little changes. It's like I said in the last video, it's like you're here and you see everything flat, and then all of a sudden there's just like a tiny gap. And you see like a little bit of, oh, wait, is there something else there? There's like, it's a little bit different. But it's so tiny. And if anything, now all of a sudden you see all these fallacies and things that don't add up. So you actually might feel worse after having done that. Yeah. Hey, Stephen, number 2. How's it going? I'm actually feeling my voice starting to get a bit sore, so I think we should start with the meditation. Really good questions, Lorenzo. When I'm happy you're asking things like this, because it's something that I enjoy talking about, but not so many people ask those kind of questions, and it's very taboo. While I was a monk, I simply couldn't have talked about this. This would not be allowed to talk about like this. So it's really nice that you asked them now, because I feel this is something that's just so... Yeah, people work so hard for this and believe something's going to change, and then they make up all these ideas and try to plaster on a new identity. I remember one guy who had become a sotapanna, who I talked to. He said, yeah, after I did this, I can't, because one of the things is that you can't kill any animal. I can't kill a fly. Like if I kill a fly, it hurts so much. Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm going to die from the pain of killing another living being. So I cannot kill a fly. So you just did something that was supposed to be really good for you, and you're now suffering like mad because you killed a fly. And I actually tried, like, okay, what happens if I kill a fly or a mosquito? Do I feel bad? Like, I had no problem doing that. So people then try to plaster on the ideas of what they believe should happen after you've attained these stages. If you don't believe me, just go do this yourself. Seriously, it's not something completely unattainable. It might take a few months, for sure. It can, but if you really wanted to, you could absolutely do this within this lifetime. It's just a matter of finding an intensive center and being able to stick with it, because it's not easy. I talk about intensive practice, like, yeah, it's like this and it's easy. Like I spent so many years in centers like that, so for me, it is something not special. But if you go there, living as a lay person and coming to a center like this, you're probably going to be shocked. Yeah, you're welcome. Cool. So for those of you who are new, we usually have a chat like this for about a little while before, and then we do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which is a way of bringing us back to the senses, because ultimately we want to be more here. We want to experience this world more. We don't want to escape this world by going into meditation and focusing so much on our breath that we don't experience the world around us. We actually want to use the meditation, and we can temporarily do that, but we want to use the meditation as a way to enjoy being here. We're not trying to escape from this life or from this world. We're trying to fully be in this life, in this world, not somewhere else. Hey, nice to see you. You're welcome. I hope we just started. We just finished with the discussion. So yeah, we have a little bit of discussion. We do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which I'll go through now, and then we have a 20-minute guided session today because it's Monday. So the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. What we do is we say out aloud 5 things we can see, 4 things we can feel, 3 things we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and 1 thing that we can taste. And I'll say it. Good. I'll say it out aloud, and you say something you see around you. So I see my meditation timer. This is the one I'm going to put it on 20 minutes. And when I do this, I can see how it's blinking here. I can see the reflection. I see the surface, how it's glossy. I can turn it and I can see there's shadows. It's like all these numbers and digits. And I think this is pretty cool, actually. And I can look at this, and I don't try to see, oh, I know this is a cheap piece of like Chinese stuff, and it's like not worth anything, and it's scraped, and it should be something else. Like, I'm not trying to give it value. I'm not trying to say it's mine, it's yours. I'm just trying to see the lights, the shadows, the colors, the texture, the way that it moves when I do like this. How does everything become interested in the world around you? Because normally I would say, oh, it's just this thing. I know it is, like this. Or this baton. Like, I know this baton. I've seen this one. I got it from Plum Village. They had hundreds of them there. They're like, yeah, it's just a baton. I can see that, yeah, like, not important. We want to really become interested and see, like, okay, it's not the value of this thing. It's not what it is, but it's actually look at this and really see, wow, see how that curves. This is a beautiful shape. And the way the light reflects here, and the way the shadows move, and this little thing here, like the imperfections become really interesting. And the glossy thing here, the golden thing. Really learn to see. And when you look at your partner like this, it's incredible when you can really see someone and like touch them and feel them. And just feel, what does it feel like to have them, and making love? It's just incredible when you're aware and not trying to get something from it, not trying to be released from something, but actually fully being there and experiencing another person or another object like this. So I can see that. I can see my cup. I can see the surface, lots of reflections in this one. We're not trying to make ourselves feel anything. We're trying to really just see it as it is, without any value, without any kind of interpretation. A lot of people talk about, oh, I shouldn't see that this is a mug. I wouldn't know that this is a mug because it's just form and energy. Like, then you're taking it too far. You shouldn't feel like it is a mug, but you most definitely know that it's a mug, unless you're an idiot or don't understand the world around you. Sorry. Like, it's not that you become dumb and don't understand the things around you. It's that a cup or mug has a feeling that's different than this. So when I have this one, I know what this is for, and I have kind of a feeling towards that. I have a feeling towards this. That's distortion. When you take that away, there's no difference between different things. Everything just is. And there's this peacefulness and stillness and fulfillment of not needing the world to change for you to feel better. Again, the concept we were talking about before. And the way we do this is by enjoying being here. So this is a piece of paper. And I can see the light is very white. And that looks almost like blinding to my eye now, compared to the other dull things that I was looking at. More muted, I should say, not dull. And I can see the hairs on my arm. Well, the reflection, interesting. There was 5 things I could see. Next we take 4 things that we can feel. And my arm, I can feel the hairs on my arm. And I can feel the hairs on my fingers as well. I can feel my teeth with my tongue. I can feel the sole of my feet. They're very dry. And I can feel the metal of this container, cylinder. There's 4 things I could feel. Next we take 3 things that we can hear. I can hear the wind outside. I can hear the humming of electronics. And when you do this, don't tense up and try to kind of reach out towards the thing you're listening to. Just let it be there and listen. Let the sound kind of just appear. We're not trying to reach for it or create any kind of tension inside of us. I can feel I can hear the vibrations in my chest. There's like the high-pitched sounds are coming here, but the lower is a vibration in my chest, and I can feel how that vibrates and hear it in my chest. There was 3 things I could hear. Next we take 2 things that we can smell. I can smell sweat. And I can smell warm fabrics when the sun has been standing on I think it's this woolen sofa, and there's a special smell. It's 2 things I could smell, and finally 1 thing we can taste. It's a kind of a lemon taste for some reason. Yeah, it's kind of lemon. So for today's meditation, I want you to start focusing on your breath. I want it to be a relaxed focus. We don't want to tense up. We're not trying to feel where's my breath happening and really go into the tiniest detail of the breath. Instead, we're just looking for awareness. The breath is happening. We're looking for a way of experiencing breath that you can basically do all throughout the day. Whenever you walk around, you can always be aware of your breath. Not by tensing up and feeling every little detail or what happens, but just a part of your awareness is always aware, what is my breath doing? What's happening now? So we're looking for a wide awareness of breath moving inside of us. We're also not trying to control the breath. This is not meant to change our state, to make us feel anything in particular. It's absolutely fine if you want to do that, but for this exercise, we're not trying to change our inner state. Instead, we're trying to observe what is happening. We're trying to get better at being aware of what is happening. Because it's one thing to sit down for 20 minutes and be aware, and it's a completely different thing to walk around 24/7. Well, you hopefully be sleeping, but the time that you're awake, and be completely aware of what's happening inside of you. So keep your awareness on your breath, the knowledge that breath is happening, the feeling and awareness that breath is moving around inside of you. And just let breath do whatever it does. There's no reason to make it deeper than it is, faster or slower than it is. Just step to the side and let breath happen and see what happens without controlling it. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is to learn to allow ourselves to enjoy being whoever we are, to enjoy being here. Actually, maybe not even enjoying being whoever we are, but just enjoying being, despite whoever you may be, despite whatever mistakes you may have done, despite whether you were a good or a bad person yesterday. It doesn't matter what you did yesterday. What do you want to do now? If you did some things that you didn't like yesterday, then change them. Don't let the inertia of your bad actions control the rest of your life. Change who you want to be. So as you're moving your awareness to the breath, just keep a sense of it happening the whole time. And in the beginning, to make it a little bit easier, we're going to do a counting exercise where we count from 1 to 8 and then down again from 8 to 1. And it's not something you need to continue doing the whole time. It's just something we do in the beginning to grab a hold of our awareness, to really sit it down in the chair and say, hey, right now you're going to sit down, you're going to be aware of the breath, and then you let it go and you let it just sit there by itself after it's calmed down a little bit. So I'll do it with you once, counting from 1 to 8, and then down again from 8 to 1, and then I'll let you do it by yourself. So breathing in and out. 1. In and out. 2. In and out. 3. In and out. 4. In and out. 5. In and out. 6. In and out. 7. In and out. 8. In and out. 7. In and out. 6. In and out. 5. In and out. 4. In and out. 3. In and out. 2. In and out. 1. Now keep counting your breath, going from 1 to 8, then down again from 8 to 1 as you breathe in and out. 1. In and out. keep on observing your breath, just being aware the breath is happening. And at the same time, I want you to, while being anchored with your breath, think about what it was like when you were younger. Think about how it felt to be light, to not feel obligations, to not feel you needed to do anything, that you could sit in the sofa and just play computer games, or be in the sandbox and play all day, or spend a day at the beach without worrying about bills or all the things you needed to do, to have a whole day at daycare to play with the rest of your friends, to go to a soccer game and just hang out with the kids and eat chips or drink cola, whatever you did. Just feeling that light-heartedness of just being without any obligations, without any worries, without anything needing to be done. And realize that life can still be like that. You still have things that need to be done, but there is nothing that says you need to feel bad about them needing to be done. Lean into that feeling of ease, of tranquility, or stillness that you felt as a child, of everything just being okay. Everything will always be okay. Someone else will take care of it. It's going to be okay. Just have fun. Enjoy being. And at the same time, don't avoid paying your bills. Don't skip going to work. But go to work with the feeling of everything is going to be fine. The feeling of everything's okay. The feeling I don't need to do anything. And at the same time, do your work. Pay the bills. Cook food. Take care of the kids. Drive to work. Clean the house. Pay the bills. Take out the garbage. But with the feeling that none of that needs to be done. That none of that has any kind of relationship with how you feel inside. Of you being able to allow yourself to feel good, no matter what the world around you says, whatever your circumstances are. So when you go to work feeling good. When you pay the bills, you feel good and you're happy. When you have those difficult conversations, you do them with a light heart, with feeling good. When you make those difficult choices, you're not making them out of fear or scarcity or worry. You're making them while you're feeling good. And all through this, observe your breath. Just let it be there in the background as you're breathing in and out. 1, in and out. if you feel that it's impossible to find that feeling of ease, comfortableness, relaxation, stillness, don't be hard on yourself. Don't push it. There's no reason to feel bad about feeling bad. Just back off and give it some time and fall back to your breath. Observe what it feels like to not feel good. Move around a little bit, maybe not right now, but later. And then go back to observing it again and see, can I find that feeling of enjoyment, of ease, of fun, of not knowing how everything is, of not being in a position where we don't have to engage with the world because we've already decided what the world means to us and what we want the world to do. Instead, being able to see with fresh eyes, like those of a child, like those of us when we were younger. And always keep your breath with you throughout the day as you're breathing in and out. 1, in and out. Thank you, that was very nice. I'm curious, did anyone have any experience with the just enjoying part? Oh. JVB, I'm actually making them myself with a, it's AI generated actually. Nice, happy to hear that, R. I've basically trained an AI with, I think, like 35 images of myself, and then I can type prompts and it generates me. So I can generate myself in different situations. Nicely worked for you, R. And nice to have you here. You're absolutely welcome to come back. It's kind of, we have a certain thing we do, and later it becomes easier to kind of get into the groove of what we're doing and follow along. But it's I don't know, maybe you've looked at the videos after, because I know there's a lot of people who watch them. Oh, there we go. That's perfect. That's what we need. That's really good. Well, I'll see everyone back on Thursday again, and I wish you a great week. And thank you for today. I really enjoyed it.